looking over my life, Lord. Let me take inventory. Can I take it? Can I take it? 'Cause I know you. I know you. I know you've been good to me, Lord. I come from a poor family. We didn't have much, but the Lord been good to me. Come from a poor family. We didn't have much, but the Lord.
Good morning to you. This is the J.D. Hill Morning Show at WHPR TV 33, Comcast 91, and my name is Agnes Hitchcock, and I am certainly pleased to be here with you this morning. I got some updates and some more information for you about our tax campaign, and we are just going to get into that in a couple of seconds. But I always like to take a minute or two and express thanks to J.D. Hill for allowing me to come in on his time on Tuesday mornings. So, to all of you out there, first of the month is coming. If you can, send J.D. in a little donation. $10 might do it. If you could spare $10, put it in an envelope, address it to WHPR TV 33 at 166 Victor, right here in the city of Highland Park. That said, I want to tell you that if you want to get in touch with me when I'm not on the air, the phone number that you can reach me at is 874-2792. I have an email address, and the email address is callemout@aol.com. Callemout@aol.com. I think that was the first email address starting with the letter C when we really got into email, but I still have that one, and it's callemout@aol.com. So that said, I am excited to tell you about the meeting that we had this past Sunday. It was well attended. Actually, I was a little bit surprised, but it was well attended, and the people were interested and encouraging, and I could see promise in this effort. Our effort is to have property taxes waived for Detroiters who have paid property taxes for a minimum of 30 years. Even though most people in the city of Detroit who have paid property taxes for 30 years probably have paid them for from 30 to 50 years. So that is the campaign that we had our organizing meeting for this past Sunday, and we're going to have another meeting in 2 weeks. You didn't show up the last time, but you really need to show up this time, and I'm going to try and encourage you to. And I'll be coming on the air again next week before our next meeting, but we have quite a few reasons why the property taxes could be waived for Detroiters who've been paying property taxes for a minimum of 30 years to the city of Detroit. Not only will we campaign to waive property taxes for people who pay taxes 30 years, we'll set up an association to help people who may have bought a house in the last 15 years. It's not often that young people have purchased houses in the city of Detroit in the last 15 or so years, and it's because they were led to believe that Detroit is some kind of a S-hole, that it's a terrible place to be, that there is no schools, that there is no quality of life, that it's dangerous, that it's so many other things. And the young people in our community were pretty much enticed to leave the city when they purchased the property. But some stayed. and they did purchase property, but they haven't been in it for as long as 30 years. So what we can do in that situation is to set up an association to help them protect their properties from property tax foreclosure. That's something that we can do. We can set up an association. We can have membership. We could have plans to do everything possible to help them protect their property from foreclosure. Whether we admit it or not, we're not going to get our schools back. It's not going to happen. We're not going to get the parks back the way that we remember them. If they do come back, the schools, the parks, the recreation centers, the healthcare facilities, all of those things will not be of much use to people like me who have been paying property taxes for 30 years. So pretty much, now listen to me, pretty much everything that we paid for the last 30 to 50 years is not under the control of the people in the city of Detroit. So if we paid for something for that long and we have no control over it, why should we continue to pay? Gentrification is here. It is here. Gentrification to me means that the people who stayed in Detroit since 1967, I'm going to mark that date right there for you, and paid and paid and paid and stayed to carry this city are going to be systematically moved out of the city of Detroit. We have some prime examples now. Brush Park. We have one person in our activist community, Gwen Mingo, who is still in Brush Park. She's still there, holding on by the skin of her teeth. But Gwen Mingo is still in Brush Park. But otherwise, Brush Park has been cleared out. It's ready for redevelopment. They're going to redevelop around her, on top of her, or she won't be there. But Brush Park has been cleared out for redevelopment. And it's not redevelopment for me or the people who held down this city for the last 30 to 50 years. That is not for us. Gentrification is when people from the outside, not the people who've been here for the last 50 or more years, come in. And the people who are currently there are systematically pushed out. Pushed out, enticed out, driven out, any way that you could think of it. The people who've held this city down, there is not a place for them there. Property tax foreclosure is used. Shutting down schools is used. Lack of police protection is used. Lack of city services is used. Propaganda is used to get people to move from one place to the other place. An example I have for you is quite a few years ago, I'm going to say 10 to 12 years ago, in North End, a development corporation sent a flyer out. And that flyer said to the people in the community, and it was targeted to renters, how would you like to move out of the community into Section 8 housing outside of the city of Detroit with subsidized rent? Once the community is redeveloped, you can return. The subsidized rent, an example, would be $118 per month. The rent where a renter is living could be $300 or $400 a month. So that is one way of enticing people out of the city of Detroit. I've seen a Section 8 flyer, really, sign up for Section 8. Sign up for Section 8. Very little of, or if any, Section 8 housing is inside of the city of Detroit. It's outside. So now you have had a person, a single parent, 2 kids in the neighborhood. Somebody tells you that you can move out and pay $118 a month and you're paying $350. You might say, well, I work at the local restaurant up there and I'm making minimum wage. So I really want to stay in the community where I am because I can walk to work and my children can walk around the corner to school. The middle schooler can walk the elementary schooler to school. I can go to work and I can stay in my community. So the people who didn't move with that enticement of $118 a month compared to $350, they stayed because they liked the community. Next thing you know, the school board closes down 50 schools. They close down the elementary, the middle school, and the high school in your community. You couldn't be enticed out with $118 Section 8 housing. You couldn't be enticed out with the thought that you could come back when it was restored, which was a lie. But when the schools in the community is shut down, that's the death knell for that community. It drives the children, single parents, out of that community. So that is one of those steps into gentrification. It's happening, it happened, and I can't see any way how we can roll it back. What I would like to see is that people who've carried this city for the last 50 years or so have an opportunity to protect their property from gentrification. You want to protect your property because all the tax dollars that you spent for the last 30 years or more have been spent on these things. Belle Isle was in the city budget when you paid property taxes. The state has taken control of Belle Isle. Cobo Hall was in our budget when we were paying property taxes, while we pay property taxes. It's under the control of an authority. The water department has been taken over. It's not under the control of the city of Detroit. Detroit public schools have been dismantled. That is what our property taxes mainly supported and still support. Recreation centers, many have been closed. Hours cut back. Very little use to the community. Pretty much, you could close the recreation centers because the children pretty much have been driven out. I talk about the casino agreements quite often. When casinos come into a city, we expect to have a better quality of life. We expect that the casinos are going to take some burden off of the property taxpayers. We expect to have better schools, which we don't have, better parks, recreation, which we don't have, actually a better quality of life. For us, it didn't happen. The money in the casinos took flight and went directly out of the city of Detroit. So that we have casinos have not done us any good. Our public transportation, many bus lines were cut, and the ones that weren't cut, there was reduced service on them. Water rates increased every year for the last 20 years. Water rates on water that the people in the city of Detroit should have owned. Our water rates increase every year, each and every year. City health clinics that used to be dotted around the city, closed, privatized, or dismantled. Residency The meaning of residency is if a person works in a place, you live where you work. Residency for the city of Detroit was dismantled. That meant that people could move outside the city of Detroit, retain their jobs where you take taxpayer money, and take that money back to your community. So that was another drain on the city of Detroit. Public lighting is no longer under the control of the city of Detroit. Property tax collection is no longer under control of the city of Detroit. Traffic fines, farmed out. Recorder's court, gone. Children's zoo, closed. Main zoo, under an authority. Detroit Institute of Arts, under an authority. Not under control of the people of the city of Detroit. Bulk pickup, which we paid for in our property taxes, which should have went into the general fund for the city of Detroit, separated out and charged again for bulk pickup. Property tax foreclosures, all a part of gentrification and moving the people out of the city of Detroit. State Fair gone, no longer here. CompuWare sitting downtown, got land for free pretty much, brought their people in from the outside, didn't have any specific jobs set aside for the people in the city of Detroit. Renaissance Center, sold for pennies by the city of Detroit. Camp Brighton, the children's summer camp, sold. But all of these things come together because if you drive the children out of the city of Detroit, you have no need for a summer camp, Camp Brighton, for the children in the summertime. We begged and pleaded for a forensic audit, but rather than have a forensic audit, the city of Detroit filed bankruptcy. Our charter was disrespected time and time again. Whenever somebody wanted to do something, they didn't run it by the voters. They didn't follow the charter. They just changed the rules, just like Governor Snyder did in Flint. You disrespect the people in the city of Detroit and change the rules. All of these things was leading to gentrification of the city of Detroit, driving the people out, bringing more people in, repopulated without the people who are here now. So I say, if everything that we've financed over the last 50 years is not under our control, why should we continue to pay property taxes? New people are coming in, they're getting tax breaks, they're getting incentives, they're getting so many things to come into the city of Detroit that if we continue to pay property taxes, we finance our own demise. So we have a campaign to waive property taxes for people in the city of Detroit who stayed here after 1967 and have been paying taxes for 30 years or more. We also want to include some young people, if there are any still here, who may have taken an opportunity to purchase a homestead in the last 15 years to try to help protect them from having their property taken over. Another example that somebody gave to me at the meeting, people get tax breaks and we finance these things all the time. Companies come into Detroit, go to our city council table with a cup out, and sometimes they don't even have to go to the table. There were times when council members or people in positions would drag them up to the council table to give them a tax break. They would sometimes promise to create jobs in the city of Detroit. So at the meeting the other day, somebody gave me some paper, and it said companies that did not meet proposed investment benchmarks in the city of Detroit. It's an older report, but to me, it's a good report. American Axle and Manufacturing Company promised a certain amount of dollars investment in the city of Detroit for their tax breaks. They fell short. Some of it's closed now, but they're just re-engineering the American Axle plant over there. Arvin, ARVIN Mentor LLC got tax breaks, didn't do the investment in the city of Detroit that they promised. So Daimler Chrysler, Jefferson Assembly, Mack Engine Plant, McGraw, Detroit Axle, these really large companies that are doing so well came into the city of Detroit, went to the council table, and received tax breaks and never kept their promises to the city or the people for these tax breaks that they were given. So who makes it up? The people who pay property taxes are the ones that make up the shortfalls for these companies after they get a tax break. General Motors Corporation is included in there. Sherwood Foods, Rampart Industries. So many companies came to the city of Detroit, city council table, or whoever makes the decision, and they received tax breaks, and they never kept their promises. And the people in the city of Detroit made up that shortfall. So we're going to wage this campaign to waive property taxes for people in the city of Detroit who have paid property taxes for 30 years or more. Some of you didn't come out on Sunday, but many of you came out on Sunday. We're asking you to come out and help us with this effort because it is an effort that will protect a place for the people in the city of Detroit who carried it for so long. Some of the other information that the person who gave me about the companies who did not keep their promises. American Axle Manufacturing promised to retain jobs and create jobs in the city of Detroit when they got a tax break. Well, for American Axle, in their promises, let's just say they came in, jobs to be retained, 3,827. Jobs to be created, 120. It was paltry, but it was 120. Number of employees, 2,353. Net job loss or gain, negative 1,644. They promised us an increase in jobs for a tax break. And for that particular year, it was a negative in jobs. Arrow Chemical Products, Bing Steel Management Company. Look at here, look at here. Bing Steel Management Company. It was here, getting a tax break. Jobs to be retained, 57. Jobs to be created, 10. Number of employees, 6. Let me make sure I see that right. 60. Net job loss, 7. Bing Steel again, another tax break. Net job loss, 41. Bing Steel again, another tax break. Net job loss, 13. Bing Steel, tax break after tax break after tax break. Caravan Technologies, tax break, job loss. Daimler Chrysler, tax break, job loss. Detroit Edge 2, tax break, job losses. Every last one of them came up negative in the jobs that they promised the city of Detroit in exchange for a tax break. Nobody enforced it, and they can come back to the table and get these tax breaks extended time and time again. So who carries that tax break? Who ends up paying for that tax break? Excuse me. The people in the city of Detroit who pay property taxes. So I'm saying Detroit is on the rise. That Q line over there on Woodward Avenue is moving along. That Q line is up and running. And by the way, they're talking about a transportation tax. I picked up a couple of tax bills today. I couldn't find a summer tax bill, but it's somewhere around. But each and every last one of these taxes that I'm going to read to you, these are taxes that expire at some time or another. When the people in the community was asked to approve these taxes, they had an expiration date on it. But it gets so good to people who are managing our money, stealing our money, or taking our money until they never expire. They come back time and time again and ask us for more taxes in addition to the property taxes. We have a Wayne County tax. Wayne County, Detroit is in Wayne County, so there's also a Wayne County tax that we pay to support Wayne County. We have a Wayne County jail tax. All of that money that was wasted down there at that Wayne County jail and is still on your property tax bill. That Wayne County jail tax is still on your property tax bill. We have a Wayne County parks tax. I guess if you don't have Detroit parks anymore, Wayne County may as well sock you for that tax, even though City of Detroit parks are still in your budget. We have a Wayne County HCMA tax. I don't know what HCM stands for, but it's still a tax. And it's renewed periodically, and they just keep getting approved. There's a RESA tax. There's a special ed tax. There's a Wayne County community tax. There's a zoo tax. There's a DIA tax. And the column for all these taxes is full. When that transportation tax is approved, they're going to have to expand that additional tax column that is there in addition to the city of Detroit. But I also picked up a DTE bill and took a look at it. Actually, the last time I really paid a lot of attention to the items on a DTE bill, the customer charge was like $7.50 on a DTE bill. Well, now we have a customer charge on a DTE bill for $52.50. A gas distribution charge, oh, I'm telling you what the bill is. We have a gas distribution charge on there. We have an energy optimization charge on the gas bill. We have a gas recovery cost on the gas bill at 37 cents, and that wasn't enough. They have a gas recovery cost on there also at 0.344 cents. We have an IRM, whatever that is, surcharge on a DTE bill. As a matter of fact, we have two of those on a DTE bill. We have a reservation charge on the DTE bill. As a matter of fact, we have two reservation charges on the DTE bill. We have the Detroit utility tax on the DTE bill, which, if I remember correctly, was a special tax for the police department, in spite of the fact that the police department is also financed in the general budget of the city of Detroit. But we still have that utility tax on the DTE bill. Then we have it so good until we have a residential Michigan sales tax on the DTE bill. So all of those items on the bill, we get taxed needlessly. So I say to you that whatever it is that the people in the city of Detroit pay for with our taxes, just like the people have no value, the things that we buy paying for our taxes have no value. We support our schools and they're dismantled. Our parks are claimed by whoever comes by. So I say the people in the city of Detroit should have their property taxes waived and protected. We organized and we set up different committees in our first meeting for this campaign. We have a committee for structure, which will decide just exactly how we want to operate. We have a social media committee. We're going to go at this effort and put everything that we have in it. And we need more people. We really need more people to join up with us. We have someone who's in charge of the social media committee, and she's going to need some help. So if you like to Facebook all day long, check your Facebook at midnight, check your Facebook while you're eating, taking a shower, and taking a bath, we need your help, because we're going to get on social media and present our case out there. We need people to research. We need someone who has knowledge or who can research for each and every tax break that a company or an outsider comes into the city of Detroit gets in benefits on our back. So we just need one person on that particular job to research tax breaks. We have an outreach committee. That is a committee to possibly bring in people who have different issues. But our focal issue, the issue that we're going to put all of our effort behind, is waiving property taxes and protecting the property of people who've been here in the city of Detroit, paying the bills, and are so disrespected. We do not want to be moved out of our homes. We do not want our property taken for eminent domain. We do not want the property taxes raised to the point that they're so high that we can't pay property and lose our property to foreclosure. We want our properties protected. We want to stay in Detroit. We're grounded here. We're rooted here. And we do not want to be wandering across the United States like refugees with no home. We have a membership committee. They'll help us recruit people who are interested in our effort and bring them along. We also have several other committees. We have a press committee. We have a committee that will write letters. One of the efforts that we are going to do is every person who stands in front of our face, be it a politician, be it a minister, be it a teacher, be it a person who sells health food, we're going to ask that person to take a stand. Support us in our efforts to waive property taxes in the city of Detroit for people who've carried this city for years, because now it's on the rise, it's on the way back up, and the people who are coming in should have to carry that burden, because all of the things that we bought, they're no longer here. But we did hold the city down for them. So whoever comes before you, if it's a preacher and he's praying, Call him up on the phone and say, Pastor, would you pray for the people in the city of Detroit who've been paying taxes for 30 years that we can get our taxes waived and protect our property from gentrification? If somebody comes before you asking for you to vote for them for judge, ask them, would you support our efforts to waive property taxes for people in the city of Detroit who have carried this city for the last 30 years or more? If somebody comes to you talking to you about anything, come to your community asking you to vote for him, whip a letter out of your pocket and ask them to sign on to it. Whip a petition out of your pocket. Make your own petition and ask them to sign that petition in support of you, who kept this city going for all this time until it's ready to be gentrified. So, I am going to take a few phone calls. Look like I got about 45 more minutes here. Phone number is 868-4336, 868-0351. Once again, my name is Agnes Hitchcock, and I always say thank you to JD for allowing me the opportunity to sit in this seat. Good morning, caller, on the air.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning to you.
When I read my tax bill, when you was talking about all the taxes we pay,
Yes.
when I read the winter tax bill, the HCMA, that's Huron Clinton Metropolitan Authority. We're paying them out there in the suburbs. RESA, that's intermediate school districts. We're paying for those out there. We're paying for the DIA that they own and control. That's the Detroit Institute of Art. But most of all, I think you covered so much. It was great because they're going to tell us, the black city council people that's predominantly black, we still own it. No, you do not. We do not own those things that Agnes talking about we're paying taxes for. Ownership legally means that you got control. You manage. When somebody else is managing the Great Lake Authority and this authority is managing Cobo Hall, you don't own it because they control it. They manage it. Also, to own something, you benefit from it. We don't benefit from the water company being taken to Great Lake Authority. We paying the Great Lake. We the owners and paying the Great Lake Authority. So we don't own none of those things. So I think we should not pay any of those taxes. The schools had 263 schools in Detroit in 1999. Now we got about 150 schools, and those schools have been most of them gave to private, non-profit organizations, and we're paying for those schools. We shouldn't pay for those schools. We didn't own no debt, because why did we own no debt? All the schools closed. We didn't have to pay the personnel. We didn't have to pay for the upkeep that was closed. So I'm with you, Agnes. We need a tax break, and we need to waive the taxes. Let Next Detroit and the authorities pay the taxes. And last thing I'm going to say, none of those things all those things that we paying taxes for and we don't own anymore, it was not the Klansmen. It was the black city council, successive city council since the 1994. Those blackies gave our stuff away. That's like sticking their hand in our pocket, because we paid taxes for those, the water company, Cobo Hall, the zoo. We don't own them no more. I say this. We're going to say waive the taxes, and we're going to organize. And if they say no, we're going to have enough people to say yes.
All right.
That's all I want to add on to it, Agnes.
Okay, thank you. We are going to take this issue. We're going to take this issue on the airwaves. I'm telling you, for a radio program, if they're talking about something, if they're talking about cheese, you can call them and tell them, I like cheese. And I was wondering, can we talk about waiving property taxes for the people in the city of Detroit? We can waive taxes, but there are different ways. We need to protect ourselves. Property can be put in trust. so that it can be protected from gentrification. It's been done in a couple of states across the country to preserve and protect people who carried places like Detroit until somebody forced the gentrification in. So that is not something that is unusual. Farms in this country are protected. Their property is protected. It's protected from taxes. Many things go on. So don't let anybody tell you you have to pay taxes. How are you going to have police? How are you going to have fire? How are you going to have schools? Well, we pay taxes and we don't have police. We don't have fire. We don't have schools. Everything that we paid taxes for has been reduced or dismantled, is no longer underneath our control. The land is the only thing that we have. Many people gave up, threw the towel in, and left. There are some of us that can hold the spot in the city of Detroit and not be totally eradicated from the landscape. There's a way. So I'm going to encourage you in 2 weeks to come to 7500 Oakland. That is Oakland, Oakland, Oakland Avenue, Oakland, Oakland Avenue. That is on the corner of Oakland and Custer. Oakland and Custer is 1 block north of East Grand Boulevard. There's ample parking on the street. It's safe. And there's good space. The building is comfortable. And it is a good place for us to meet. So we have to have numbers. We have to have people who are interested. We have to have you come out. You have to tell other homeowners in the city of Detroit. Don't wait until it hits your neighborhood, because it will come. I talked about Gwen Mingo's neighborhood down in Brush Park. North End is primed to look just like Gwen Mingo's neighborhood down in Brush Park, because the people who have moved downtown, they're young, they're coming in, they're getting grants, and they're doing well. In a few years, they're going to need some freestanding houses. Those houses are going to be built in Brush Park, and they're going to be built on the North End and further. They are not being built for you. They are going to have great schools. They're going to have schools for their children. They're going to have recreation centers. They're going to have activities, health clinics, everything they need. So our schools are gone, and I don't believe that we'll ever get them back. Our children are gone. Forced out of the city of Detroit, enticed out. They're not here, they're gone. So we need to protect our property just because we want to from gentrification. Hi, caller, you're on the air. Caller? All right. Once again, my name is Agnes Hitchcock. If you want to or have reason to get in touch with me when I'm not on the air, I can be reached at 874-2792. 874-2792. My email is callemout@aol.com. Callemout@aol.com. Speaking of that, we had considered doing a Sambo before the election to highlight some of the people who are running for office. However, the time is so short, we've decided that we would pass on it and go back to our regular date in February. However, we do have a Sambo committee. We even have an established Sambo ad sales team. And that is one of our Call 'em Out babies that grew up with us over the years. And her name is Dana Dancer. I call her Diva Dana. But Dana went to Specs Howard Broadcasting School, and she's agreed to be our sales team. to sell ads for our Sambo book when we do it in February. So we're not going to be able to do it within a month, but we will do it in February again. That's our logo. That's what Call 'em Out started as, and it was well known for Sambo and holding elected officials accountable. So we're not going to be able to do it before November, but we will get it done in February. Hi, Carly, on the air. Okay, I can live with it.
Hello, how are you?
Beg your pardon?
I said, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm the one you call Hugs, but I always reach out to you with his shots. But I have told my young people all about you, and they are very anxious to be assistants to you, to say I'm very obedient. And they said, Auntie, what would you like me to do? I said, we must embrace Missy Chops. And she said, yes, ma'am. And the little people that pick up trash, and they say, I love Detroit. That is so important. You have so many people that you have yet to meet that are embracing what you're saying, that are dedicated to the cause. I just want you to know that, ma'am.
Thank you.
I am so appreciative. And I'm the one you always, when I'm just to hug me.
Thank you.
All right.
I wasn't able to hear the caller too well, so I'm not sure what he said, but I hope it was okay. Hi, Carly, on the air.
Don't worry about it. It's a straight call.
All right. Thank you. Once again, my name is Agnes Hitchcock, and we're having a meeting 2 weeks, in 2 weeks on Sunday. We had our last meeting on the 25th, and we said that we would meet back again in 2 weeks. So it's not this Sunday, it's next Sunday after next at 2 p.m., 7500 Oakland, and our effort will be geared toward waiving property taxes for the people who have carried the city of Detroit since 1967 for the last 30 to 50 years who now deserve a break. And one last thing, before I go, I heard that the ministers were going to demonstrate about that new water fee, water tax, whatever it is coming. Just think what we could have done with Detroit Public Schools backing up that takeover if they had hit the streets with the people and resisted having our public schools taken over. So, just a thought. My, if those preachers had just hit the block instead of trying to get a charter school, our city and our Detroit Public Schools and our children just might not be scattered all across the country. My time is up. Once again, this is WHPR TV 33, Comcast 91. And thanks again to JD for letting me sit in his space. And hopefully I will see you again on next Tuesday. And see if you can find me tomorrow morning at 7:30 on a local radio station to carry our cause to a different listening audience. My time is up, and I'll see you next Tuesday.
Lord, I'm just sitting here looking over my life, Lord. Let me take inventory. Can I take it?